Hello, hockey fans. John Hannon here, founder and president of the World Hockey Institute, and we're coming to you live from our studios at the Northtown Center and our offices for the Buffalo Prospects. We're here talking tonight to Luke Hannon. Luke is my son, actually, and played in Western New York, various places growing up, and went on to play in the Provincial League, OPJHL, EJHL, and most recently last year the USHL. So we just want to talk a little bit with him about what he feels as a young man and just fresh through this process, what he feels it's necessary to do to become a complete enough hockey player to play and dominate and be an impact player in the USHL, which is the best league in the country. So Luke, what are some of the things you feel?
Well, you nailed it there when you talked about the other leagues that I played in previous to the USHL. Perseverance is a big thing. I didn't make it till my last year in the USHL, and most guys aren't going to make it their first time. It's going to take a few tries, kick at the can, and you might not make the team your first year, but there's the other couple leagues that you can play in and develop your game, and then the USHL is the league that you want to ultimately get to, and to get there, you have to persevere and never get complacent. You really want to work hard every day at practice. So, I think you got to take a look at yourself every year, look in the mirror, and, I had a coach tell me, call a spade a spade. So if you realize that there's a flaw in your game, people's parents sometimes tell them, oh, great game, Johnny, great game. But it's not the case, you know what I mean? You got to look in the mirror and really take a clean look at yourself and figure out where you stand compared to the other guys, and what you need to work on to get better and make the team the next year. It's a fine line between winning and losing. You hear all those quotes and stuff, but there's a fine line between making a team and getting cut.
Luke, what would you say some of the better coaches you've had? What are some of the attributes of some of the best coaches that you've had?
Well, like the Herb Brooks thing in Story Miracle, a lot of the coaches will say, I'm not here to be your friend, I'm here to be your coach, and that's the case a lot of the teams you play for. It's a business, and they're not there to be your friend. They're going to call you out for a lot of stuff, and you got to be prepared to handle it. You can't be soft. You got to take the dirt and improve, and try to grow from there. Because everywhere out there's going to be a guy better than you.
What makes a good teammate, would you say, in terms of guys that you like playing with and guys you like hanging around with? Because that's important. As you get older, you spend a lot of time with guys too, right?
It's all about teamwork. As individual as a game as it is, it's all about being a teammate. And winning teams, a lot of the times, all 22 guys get along. It's not. They weed out the cancers pretty quickly. As a coach, they go in, you can't get away with too much. They find who's doing the right things and they eliminate who's doing the wrong things.
Right now, Alex Guptill is the leading scorer at Michigan. You played with him last year. He had a little rough time, you would say, maybe in the USHL, but what did he have in him that's allowed him to succeed playing for Michigan?
Well, the kid's a goal scorer, and he proved himself before he went to the USHL. And when he was there, they gave him a hard time, and they didn't let him do some of the things he wanted to do. And that's defensive game and stuff like that. He's a very talented player offensively, and I think his game was somewhat restricted by the coaches last year. And you want to play in the system and, buy into the system and do the things that the coach tells you to do, but there has to be some freedom involved in that. And I don't think he got the chances to make the plays, and high risk, high reward. That's the type of player he was, and turning the puck over, he would get yelled at, and then he would be scared to make the move the next time. So you got to learn from your mistakes. It's until you're in the NHL, you can really screw up as many times as you want. Take the chances, get better. You might look stupid or foolish sometimes, but maybe it gets through the guy the next time, and you're in for a breakaway. I think that, playing in the system, buying into the things that the coaches say is very important, but having that creativity and kind of free will to maneuver with the puck is important. And being poised with the puck, he's really poised with the puck. And you got to dictate the play as a forward. You gotta control the puck. You gotta want to be the guy with the puck on your stick and facilitate and help everybody else out around you. Because when you got the puck on your stick, it's everybody else's job to get open. It's all about a team game. And if everybody's on the same page, and things usually turn out a little smoother. And I know he's having a good time out there with his line mates, playing on a consistent line with guys and not getting moved around here or there. Or, I think he's kind of solidified a role there on that team, and it's working out for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. What kinds of things do you think the younger kids should be working on these days? I mean,
Get in the basement.
What's that?
Get in the basement.
And do what?
Shoot 500 pucks a day. Nobody here has the best shot in the world yet. Your shot can't be the best. You can always get better. It takes more than 500 a day. It's endless. You got to saturate yourself in the game, eat, sleep, live hockey, and if you do all those things, and ultimately, if you want it bad enough, you'll get it. It's the kids that pretend that they want it that don't make it. You got to want it wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. And you've been running a lot of ice these days for years, and even more now. But what are some of the attributes of kids on the ice that you see? I've been coaching a long time, and I have my feelings on it. But who's a kid that you want to put time into, you want to invest in, you want to say that one more thing to?
Any kid that's the big thing that a coach looks for. A guy that's the fine line as well. Is if a guy's on the bubble and another guy's on the bubble, it's the guy who's coachable who's going to end up making the team. And by being coachable, I mean correcting your mistakes the first time that you're told, and being a sponge and absorbing everything that coach says and repeating it to the team. And it's kind of like sucking up a little bit, but the coaches appreciate that. You hear something that a coach says, let it stick in your mind, and if the opportunity presents itself, you want to kind of repeat what he says, and it's all part of buying into the whole system. It's correcting your mistakes the first time, and it's also initiative. It's not being told something, asking questions. You want to, Coach, can I see video? Coach, can I do this? First one on the ice, that's always important. Last one off the ice, never complaining. First one in line in drills. You'll get noticed if you do those little things, and they make a big difference in the long run, in the big picture.
What advice do you have to a kid who's on the third line or fourth line? Maybe factually they are better than the kids ahead of them. Maybe subjectively they think they're better than the kids ahead of them. But it is what it is. They're on the third or fourth line. What do you got to do then?
You don't want to end up there, but if you end up there, it's doing the little things in practice every day. It's working harder than the guy on the first line, or back checking when nobody else is back checking, or it's it's tough to work your way up because coaches have favorites a lot of times on the first line. You want to establish yourself at the beginning of every season as a power play guy and as a first line guy, and you want to be the go-to guy. You want to try to establish that right away. However, if you fall into that third or fourth line category, then it's all persistency, just never giving up and working hard every single day at practice. You can't take any off days, honestly. You can't take any off days. I know you're not getting paid in the junior leagues right now, but it becomes a job, and in the NHL or when you're making the big bucks, it's your job. And if a guy doesn't show up to the office and work hard and he's slacking off and the reports don't get filed, the boss knows. So don't think you're getting away with anything at practice. There's always somebody watching, and there's always somebody going to be working harder than you. So you got to be the hardest working guy. It's cliche and old school as it is. You got to be the hardest working guy. You got to be a mule. I mean, it's It's just establishing yourself and never giving up.
You got a bunch of famous quotes. Something about if you want money, go to the bank, or what's that all about?
They say if you want bread, you go to the bakery. If you want money, you go to the bank. If you want goals, you go to the net. It's a pretty simple philosophy. A lot of times, the defenseman is taking a night off, and you could really isolate him and take him wide and drive right to the net, and nobody's going to stop you. You got to be a bull going in the net. If you take the puck, you stuff it past the goal line. That's all you have to do. It's pretty simple. And it's being scared of taking it to the hard areas for a lot of the guys. You got to get dirty. You got to score the goals that guys don't want to score. Thomas Vanek gets in front of the net. I don't even know how many cross checks he takes every game. Hacks to the back of the leg. He's in front of the goalie. I mean, Todd Bertuzzi did it last night. It's all these guys that stay in the league for 15 years if you do those little things. Franzen, Bertuzzi. These guys were legends because they make their money getting in the dirty areas. Nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to be a perimeter luxury player, but it's getting to the dirty areas, taking it to the paint. Basketball, you take it to the paint, Dwight Howard, it's game over. You know what I mean? The guy's going to slam them down all day. Nobody wants to defend it. You take it to the net if you want to score. It's plain and simple. Walk it right out of the corner, drive wide, you're in.
There's a lot of different roads to Rome, I guess we could say, and to get to the USHL, to get to EJ, to get to the Provincial League, to get to college, ideally to get to the pros if that's meant to be. But one of them is prep school, and looking back, you went to prep school for younger actually, and what were some of the good things, some of the pros of going to prep school? What do you think in retrospect?
Looking back on it now, you're there at prep school. You're there to play hockey. But you realize once you're gone that it's a three-sport school, so you have to play a fall sport, a winter sport, and a spring sport. You realize that those other sports are actually pretty fun too, and some of the things you learn in other sports can translate right into hockey. And those, looking back on it now, those memories of playing lacrosse and water polo, scoring goals in different games, no matter what you're doing, you're learning how to score, and repetition's the father of learning. So the more goals you score, the more goals you want to score. You always want to outdo yourself. So I think prep school is a great route, and I think it really builds a good character in kids, and it's a lot of structure, and I think it's a good thing for kids, and I think that I think playing the other sports is actually important. You want to be, hockey's your number one, but you want to play other sports to kind of take your mind off it. Like a lot of guys play golf, a lot of hockey players, and they played sports like other sports as a kid, and I think playing other sports helps, and it helps you learn different things that can translate into what's more important to you.
All right, good. Anything else?
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, thanks, Lou.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Beautiful.